If you're thinking of starting your own supplement line, I want you to look at this guy, the Liver King in all his glory. Not his abs though, although, holy cow, look at them. How does that even happen? Anyway, the Liver King, whose real name is Brian Johnson, is quite the viral sensation, and my unofficial Google search reports that he's raking in the dough and pulling about $100 million a year.
Making over $100 million a year from your businesses. True or false?
True.
True.
Now, whether that's true or not, I have no idea, but what I do know is that he's got his own line of supplements called Ancestral supplements, and it's doing pretty well thanks to his presence on TikTok and YouTube. And if you've got dreams of aspiring to such viral feats and creating your own line of supplements, well, I want to do a fun little exercise today, and using Ancestral supplements, take a look at their brand from the point of view of a national retailer's compliance team. So 3 takeaways that caught my attention and that you can incorporate into your business strategy. Let's go. If this is your first time here, my name is Brian, and it's great to meet you. I've been in the supplement industry since 2004 and have held executive level roles specializing in regulatory affairs and quality assurance. I've helped food and supplement brands grow by navigating the compliance requirements, and I want to help you do the same. So let's pretend for a moment that a brand like Ancestral Supplements wants to move into a national retailer or distributor. And to that, let's pretend that I'm the head of the compliance department for a particular retailer, and so approval of a brand must go through me, and my priority is to ensure that there are no claims or issues with the product that could get the company into legal trouble. That said, using Ancestral Supplements, there are 3 notable items that really caught my attention. So let's get Let's start with the grass-fed beef liver. And on this page, it says that it contains preformed vitamin A, choline, folate, B12, CoQ10, and a couple more. But here's the thing. When you look at the supplement facts, it doesn't have vitamin A content. I don't see folate content. I don't see B12 content, nor any of the other mentioned nutrients. Instead, all this product is promising you is 3,000 milligrams of grass-fed liver per 6 caps. Now, one could say, well, Brian, liver normally contains vitamin A and iron and B12, so can't we just assume it's in the 6 capsule serving even though it's not declared on the label? And to that, I say yes, but here's the kicker. FDA themselves says that if you're going to say something contains, insert the nutrient of your choice, well, you're going to have to, 1, put it into the supplement facts table, and 2, that nutrient needs to deliver at least 10% of its daily value. And while this might seem like a technicality, really the intent is a good one, and that is FDA doesn't want the brand to mislead their consumers. And for all I know, it's not unreasonable for me to believe that the beef liver has been processed over several times, several steps to become a powder, and it's also not unreasonable for me to assume that the liver ingredient itself has been sitting in a bag somewhere in a warehouse or during shipment for who knows how long, where the nutrients would dissipate over time. Which kind of brings a new meaning to the question, where's the beef? Probably just dated myself. Now, I know another question I'm sure you're asking is, Brian, if Ancestral Supplements is labeling wrong, then why isn't FDA going after them? It's a good one, and I will answer that later in the video, but in the meantime, let's move on to the next item. Okay, so let's take a look at the grass-fed beef bone and marrow, and I think there are some callouts here that I would consider trigger words, as in words or phrases that are known to have undergone litigation or enforcement action. Such trigger words that caught my attention here are allergen-free or pesticide and GMO-free. Now, I'm not saying that Ancestral Supplements aren't pesticide or GMO-free here, but what I am saying is that if I were the compliance lead for a large national retailer, I'm going to be checking to ensure allergen-free or GMO-free claims are properly vetted. It's just that there's been a lot of legal action on these types of claims here, and here. If you think about it, the bar to ensure a product is, for example, allergen-free, it's incredibly high, right? It literally means none, as in absolutely 0 allergens. Even if you were to test the product, I mean, the test method itself has limitations. It can only get to a certain level of sensitivity, and you could possibly have false positive or false negative results. My point is that a claim like allergen-free is a claim that not every brand can easily meet. Even the large companies with all the doctors and experts and money behind them, even they shy away from a claim like this for good reason. And when a smaller brand makes a bold claim like allergen-free, it would naturally raise raise an eyebrow. And you can bet that allergen-free is just one example of a trigger word. There are plenty of other trigger words that I watch for when reviewing labels or websites for my clients. And I list examples of these other trigger words in our signature supplement startup essential training, aka SET. It's packed with industry insider information as well as how to find a contract manufacturer. You're also going to get our list of contract manufacturers, and the topics that we covers about 90% of the questions that have come up repeatedly over countless client consultations, of which you can see all the topics in the link below. This training is intended to give entrepreneurs the fundamentals and know how to start your brand right while navigating FDA and FTC. This will really help startups avoid the countless and costly issues that I've seen over and over again. Now here's something that I appreciate, and that is that the Liver King has its own distinct website from Ancestral supplements. One website is obviously made with the primary function to sell supplements, whereas the other is more to educate and shed personal insight into the Liver King's approach to fitness and health. So why do I like this? Well, FDA sees labels and labeling, like your website, social media, and ads, as pretty much one and the same. And as a strategy, having a clear distinction between selling versus education helps clarify what is labeling and what is not. For example, if Ancestral supplements were to put an ad out speaking to how the supplements help detoxify your body, well, that's a claim that would fall under the purview of FDA and FTC. However, LiverKing.com's embrace of traditional methods and speaking as to what those traditions believed in may not be scrutinized by FDA or FTC. And I will reemphasize, may not be scrutinized because lines can easily blur if, for example, the educational website starts to make blatant product promotions. Then it could be seen by FTC as an extension of the label. So while FDA or FTC doesn't have clear rules as to what constitutes labeling, having the separation in websites, that separation in the purpose of the content between the two sites, is a good starting strategy. So let's assume that some of the observations that I talked about so far are legitimate issues. Well, why isn't FDA going after a brand like Ancestral Supplements? It's a good question. I think there are a lot of reasons why FDA would ignore a brand. And I think big ones are that they have limited manpower, limited budget, and I think FDA just has bigger fish to fry. At the same time, FDA knows this. And what's interesting is that you can see them switching up their strategy of enforcement. And to prove my point, here's one example of FDA shifting away from taking action against a specific brand and instead is going after the distributor. As recent as of 2022, FDA sent a warning letter to Amazon for having this brand, Atsuri Aho King, on their platform, which FDA found the supplements to be adulterated and misbranded. To me, I believe the thinking here is that by shifting the enforcement to Amazon, it'll naturally trickle down to the individual brands where Amazon's going to crack down on the non-compliant sellers over time. Add to that, you've got law firms out there that make a living suing brands and distributors for selling non-compliant products, and they're digging deep into the regulations to find all these technical requirements that a brand isn't meeting. And it's this that you have to be ready for when you're starting a brand. And if you're new to the supplement industry, be sure to watch this video here, as there are 3 things that may just surprise you. Until next time, cheers.